company's in life, we're ready to shine. With every step forward, we're crossing the line. Embrace the hustle, let the fire ignite. Together we rise, we'll conquer the night.
We are back. We are back. We are back. I hope that each and every one of you have enjoyed the first part of today's topic. The topic is being spiritually manipulated. All right. And I hope you enjoyed the first part. We're now going to continue by going into part 2. All right. So once again, grab your pad, your pens, your snack, your drink. Come and enjoy the conversation that is being had on today. Okay. So, like we were talking about earlier, what being spiritually manipulated is. It's basically any and everything, spoken or done to compromise your identity, the process of your self discovery, and the entirety of your spiritual existence, right? What do you mean? What I mean is, even if you are not in the best state of mind, even if you're just going through stuff, even if you're, you are going through this journey of healing and fixing you to make you better and identifying your trauma, spiritual manipulation can happen. It can happen by way of the filter of other people. And what happens is once those filters are imparted into your spiritual atmosphere, if you agree that you need to do certain things the way that other people say you need to do them, that is where spiritual manipulation is inflicted upon you. We as a people, when we allow ourselves to be compromised by the filter of other people, that is where spiritual manipulation is born into us. And it affects us in a detrimental kind of way. It affects us to the point that we lose ourselves. We already don't know who we are. So we're going on this journey and discovering who we are. And so then in the process, we just get thrown back. Why? Because so-and-so said, I should do it this way. And you got to do it this way. If you don't do it that way, then you're living wrong or you're doing wrong and you'll never amount to anything because this and this, like it is so many filters and criterias that we allow people to place on us. So when they do that in return, we place it upon ourselves. And it's just not in one religion or the next. It's just not in the religious aspect of it. It's in the spiritual aspect. It's in the mental aspect. It's in the spiritual aspect. People will sit up here and say, well, this is how you should be. This is what you should do. This is how you should present yourself. This is how your humanness should be. This is how your human nature should be. And what we do is we take that because we fall for it. Because we got to realize a lot of us aren't connected to our spiritual identity, and we're not connected to the spiritual universe. So we're susceptible to believing so many things that's not our reality. Even if it's manifested through, the communities that our humanness resides in, right? As I said earlier, we're looking at, let's look at it from a religious standpoint or whatever walk of faith we believe in. There are so many of us who are being spiritually manipulated because we're not doing things the way people want us to do them. We're not believing said religion or said beliefs. We're not believing or going by or following the rules of that person, what that group of people or that person or that doctrine said that we got to do. And like I said, I spoke about Christianity because I really can't speak about any other, walk of faith, because though I've researched and learned core things about these things, I'm a believer of what I believe in. And in Christianity, we also got to understand that the book that we read from, as I said earlier, has been manipulated numerous times to the point that we read 66 books out of 81, because 81 is not in there. There's 15 books missing, right? We also got to understand that we got 44,000 denominations in the Christian faith. We also got to understand that these 44,000 denominations were created because one person or a group of people were not in agreement and felt some type of manipulation and felt that it was not right and did not abide by the filter of the people who were saying, you got to live this way, you got to do this way. So they created their own denomination. So 44,000 denominations later, here we are. And I'm not saying that the denominations are wrong. What I'm saying is the reason why we're expounding 44,000+ denominations is because we're being spiritually manipulated by religious rules, by the dogmas, by the filters, instead of tapping into our own spiritual journey as it pertains to our walks of faith. Because like I said earlier, it's just not happening in the Christian faith. This is happening in the Islamic faith. This is happening in the Buddhist faith. This is happening in the Hindu faith. This is happening in the Roman Catholic faith. Like, it's happening across the board. So what is the spiritual infection? The spiritual infection is the lack of spiritual connection to spirituality and the spiritual universal atmosphere. We say we're singing one verse. We're connected to the universe. One song, one breath. We say that, but are we really doing that? Are we really applying that to our individual selves? And now I really want to go into depth with part 2, with spiritual manipulation, because like I said right before we ended part 1, we have people who are not connected with themselves spiritually. They don't have that connection with them spiritual selves. There's a disconnect and a breakdown from their spiritual selves and their physical selves. So they're susceptible and they're vulnerable to being attacked and manipulated and preyed upon. We're going to get into spiritual, being preyed on spiritually, but the chances of us being manipulated and preyed upon are great if we don't have that spiritual connection to the spiritual universe that is the mouth of God, right? And I always say that because I want to be able to speak in a language that everybody understands. I want to be able to speak in a language that everybody understands. And we just have these people that say, you know what, all I want to do is right. All I want to do is know who I am internally. All I want to do is love and be happy and be patient and have the ability to endure and the things that I want to work on so that I can make me great. I want to, in return, impart this fruit into other people. I want to serve my life purpose. I want to fulfill my life obligations. I want to, do spiritual work, not only as it pertains to me, but helping other people. So here I am going to start here. And this person who is claimed, or these people who are claimed to be so knowledgeable, I trust that they will give me every bit of knowledge that I need to know. And in return, there are some people who are, the knowledgeable ones. They ain't speaking the knowledge. They're manipulating to control. And because they're manipulating to control, people's journeys are being hindered. They're being slowed down. This is what you call spiritual manipulation, to gain that control, or over someone, or have them do or be whatever it is you want them to be, and however it is you want them to do certain things. This is what spiritual manipulation is. And then it is happening not just in your walk of faith, it is happening in your communities. Stereotypes that one community says about another community is spiritual manipulation, because when the spiritual atmosphere, it's over different communities of races. Oh my gosh, I'm having a wardrobe malfunction with my headpiece here. But this is what it is. So if you have one race saying these stereotypes about another race, at some point, that manipulation or that stereotype is going to affect and infect the spiritual atmosphere of that community, of that other race. And so people in the attacked race, in the attacked community, are going to be conditioned. They're going to grow and be by way of condition. Their humanness is going to be infected and affected by the spiritual manipulation. Then they're going to interact with people under the conditions of spiritual manipulation. Then they're going to bear children or adopt children, or be in a family or a marriage or any relationship. And that's going to be tainted by spiritual manipulation. You see how it trickles down, and it doesn't matter what aspect. It doesn't matter. Let's go further. Let's go further. We have this spiritual manipulation that comes in the form of toxic masculinity that has suppressed that have conditioned the emotions and the thoughts and the expression of our brotherhood of males, to the point that they've been taught they can't express themselves. They can't get sad. They can't cry. They can't go to the next brother or the next sister and say, this is how I'm feeling and this is why I'm sad. They can't shed a tear. They can't be fearful of something. So not only does it affect it spiritual, now it's mental. Now it's emotional. Now it's physical. The stereotypes and the spiritual manipulation of men physically says that a male has to present himself physically with big, bulky muscles, a broad chest, and a deep voice, and you got to talk like this. And you got to present yourself physically a certain way. Same thing with women. Same thing if you're gay or straight. It's compromising who you are. It's compromising and it's suppressing your interdependence. You have a right to be interdependent. But when we're talking about spiritual manipulation, it suppresses the interdependence as it pertains to you being in a community, whether it's a community of race, a community of religion, a community of gender, a community of orientation. And this is why people are losing themselves, because they're being spiritually manipulated. You not know how people go on and they be good and everything is going good up to a certain point in their life. It just starts spiraling out of control. And then they have this nervous breakdown. And then when they pull themselves back together and they have a moment to reassess some things, they go and say, you know what? I allowed all of this stuff to happen. I've allowed all of these things to happen. And why did I allow all of these things to happen? And why did I allow, myself to be manipulated into believing and doing these things? And it is not the truth. And now I'm compromised. So now I got to go through this whole journey of finding out where the compromising happened. And now I got to fix it. Across the board, because we are not connected with ourselves. But for those who are spiritually connected with themselves, let's talk about these mighty warriors. That does not, just because you're spiritually connected with yourself, that does not make you greater than the next person. That just means that you have certain gifts to be able to identify the BS that is spiritual manipulation. Okay, let's talk about it. You have the ability to say, it's too much. It's more than that. It's more than what you're saying. It's more than what you're doing. Why are you telling me I need to do this, and this, when I know I need to do this, and this, and this, and this? I got a connection with the spiritual universe. The spiritual universe is saying, I'm going to need to do A, B, and C. You telling me to do X, Y, and Z. What are we doing here? And then the people who trying to do the manipulation, they get mad. They put the judgy face on, they squint up. Why he doing that? Why she doing this? Why this and this and this and this and this? The more we are connected with our spiritual selves, the less attacks, the less chances we have of falling into the spiritual manipulation. But let's go on further and let's go on deeper. Okay? Y'all ready? Let's go on further. Let's go on deeper down in this conversation. Because I want to talk about, because we know it happens within certain walks of faith or religions and stuff, by way of rules and stuff. I think we've got to the point that we've established that that's where it starts. Okay. And now we know how it trickles down from it being in the walk of faith to how we interact with people. Right. But we also got to understand that if we have not dealt with our trauma, the lack of dealing with your trauma conditions you to spiritually manipulate other people. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm gonna have to take a sip of coffee on that one. That one was deep because we have not healed from our trauma. We have not dealt with the people who have inflicted pain upon us. We allow ourselves to be conditioned. That spiritual DNA, the cancer in that spiritual DNA. Mhm. The cancer that's in that spiritual DNA is the trauma. And that trauma will condition you to be in a state of being that you do not want to be in. And if you do not deal with it and handle it accordingly, I'm here to tell y'all will start spiritually manipulating other people. Because here's why. Because when you deal with trauma and healing and pain, you also got to understand that infuses the iniquity that is inside of you. We are already trying to detach ourselves from iniquity. But when we know we need to work on stuff and we don't put in the time and the effort, and I'm not saying everybody does this, but when we don't do these things, we now can infuse and strengthen our iniquity. We have filters because we've already been conditioned by our trauma. So that infuses the iniquity even more. Not infuse, add fuel to the fire per se. And then every time we interact with somebody is by way of a filter. What you should be doing, how you should be acting. This is how you should carry yourself. This is how you should walk. This is how you should talk. This is how you should look. You too dark, you too light. You too fat, you too skinny. You too short, you too tall. You shouldn't be gay, you shouldn't be straight. This is what's happening. The filter or the criteria that is being imposed upon people is the effect of trauma by way of, under the conditions of spiritual manipulation. Spiritual manipulation will say who you truly are is less than, and it is not going to be accepted. So you might as well do what I want you to do and be who I want you to be. And it has gotten so out of control, and now it's starting. We're not starting. It has already always been there, but now we're realizing the reality of spiritual manipulation is also found in cases of sexual assault, domestic violence, sexual harassment, the lust of being the lust of controlling is, this is the weapon. Spiritual manipulation, the lust of control. You have to be in control all the time over people, that you will stop at nothing and do everything that you possibly can to have control over somebody, to do what you want them to do, be who you want them to be. Look where we are now. We are reading it every single day. We have a whole entire industry that is under the microscope, that at any given moment could be brought to its knees. The columns of the foundation that hold this industry up is cracking. is cracking. Look at the entertainment industry. How everything is going on the way it's going on and how it's going down, and we're finding out all of this stuff. Mm. And the victims, when you hear their stories, the victims they did not know who they truly were. There was no spiritual connection of who they truly were. So they were being preyed upon. By predators. They're being preyed upon to believe, if you do this, you will have this. If you do that, you would have that. Trust me, and I will get you here. I will make you famous. I will help you get famous. I will help you make this amount of money and that amount of money. The lack of a connection with their spiritual selves allowed these victims to fall into these traps and to believe the manipulation or believe the filters or the criterias of their attackers. And their stories aren't unique. Their stories aren't new. We've been dealing with this for generations. We've been dealing with this. Whether it's a certain religion, whether it's a certain race of people, multiple races of people, multiple walks of faith in their community, multiple communities have been dealing with this. Being preyed upon by other people in their communities. And now we're in industries, and it's happening in industries. Where people are spiritually manipulating people that don't have a spiritual connection with themselves. And that what really hurts me, right? Because you have people, just same situation, different scenario. You have people who trust in people to help them be successful and prosperous in their career or and help them fulfill their dreams, not knowing that because there's no spiritual connection, I'm being compromised. I'm not knowing I'm being compromised. I'm not knowing I'm being preyed upon. I'm not knowing I'm being manipulated. Until spiritual nature kicks in and you cut off the space that I would have had to connect with myself spiritually. You cut that off, but what spiritual nature does, it says, you know what? If it can't be here in the beginning, it's going to be in the middle. And when it comes in the middle and people start connecting themselves, spiritually, all hell is going to break loose to the person who was spiritually manipulating and spiritually preying on, not P-R-A-Y, P-R-E-Y, on the people that they were manipulating. And look what happens. Look what's happening. It's in the entertainment industry across the board. The modeling industry, the music industry, the acting industry, the entertainment as a whole. Look where it's happening. But we realize that when people have power, this is where your spiritual manipulation comes in, because people have power. They have power. So they feel that they can control and manipulate any and everybody. And look what's happening. And the spiritual infection that you are putting inside these people, the manipulation that you are putting inside these people. Do you not know that the words of the... Okay, let me break this down. When we speak so evil and manipulative, when we speak these things to gain control over somebody and manipulate somebody spiritually, because it starts spiritually, do we not know that once you do that, what you do to inflict pain upon somebody, or manipulation upon somebody, or trauma upon somebody, at some point it's going to resurface. And it's not going to resurface in a way that, you're putting it on blast, but it resurfaces within the spirit of the person who does the infliction. And the fruit that you eat is the very fruit that you impart and inflict upon somebody. So if you inflict hurt and pain, you're going to be eating the fruit of hurt and pain, of spiritual manipulation or spiritual preying upon somebody. You're going to eat that fruit. Somebody is going to do the same things to you as you've done to other people. When you speak things to do evil things, you eat that fruit. So at some point in your life, you're going to have to eat that fruit. Take that in. This is why we got to get spiritually connected, because when you're spiritually connected with you, it is easier to decipher and discern who is for you, who is against you, and who is the wolf in sheep's clothing and is and want to bring you close to them so they can use you and manipulate you and use you however they see fit. So you can't blame the victims that are being spiritually manipulated or sexually assaulted, or being tricked to do stuff that that they didn't want to do, or believing that if they do something that greater things would happen, their dreams will be fulfilled. You can't blame them, because they just may not have known that they had to have a spiritual connection in order for them to, know who they are, and know when somebody is preying on them and manipulating them and trying to control them. You can't blame the victims, who you can blame. Now you can blame somebody, but who you can blame is the people who knew it was happening, saw it happening, and not say anything. Because I'm really having an issue with the people who are saying that these things, oh yeah, I knew the this person was doing this to this person, and this person was manipulating this person was sexually assaulting this person was preying upon this person was grooming this person, not for greatness, but for evil. I knew all of this stuff that was going on in the industry, this, and this, and this, and this. You waited until all hell broke loose to say something. But at the same time, you the same man or woman that's saying, I want to go down as somebody who's honorable. I want to die an honorable man or woman. A man or woman of integrity. A man or a woman that was caring and loving. How can you do that? When you see something, you seeing a vulnerable spirit. You're seeing that person be manipulated and preyed upon and not say nothing when it happens. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because you also say in the same breath that I would have never let that person manipulate me the way he did her or she did him. I would have never allowed that to happen to me. Oh, baby, let me make one thing perfectly clear. You've already been manipulated by the people who are preying on other people. You've already been manipulated and preyed upon by the people who are manipulating and preying on other people. Why? Why? Because you don't have the balls to speak out. And you are silent when you don't need to be silent. That is not being honorable. That is not having integrity. That is not being courageous. That is not being loving. If anything, it's the complete opposite. That's being cowardly. That's being hateful. You see someone being spiritually ripped to shreds, but you don't say nothing? And wondering why this person over here who's been attacked and preyed upon, wondering why they have lost themselves, wondering why they're broken, wondering why they're having these nervous breakdowns and these psychotic breaks, and their mental health is not where it needs to be, their spiritual health is not where it needs to be, their emotional and physical health is not where it needs to be. Why? Because you did not speak up and have the back with somebody who did not know that a spiritual connection was required. You knew who you were, and you knew, I'm not going to say you know who you were, but you operated at a greater strength. But you did not have the back of the people who were being attacked and preyed upon and manipulated, but you want to go down as someone who is honorable and loving and courageous and a good man or woman? How? Just because you said it 20-something, 30-something odd years later, you should have said it from day one. So here's what's going to happen. As the person who does the manipulation and the preying upon, as they go down and reap what they sow and eat the fruit that they inflicted upon someone else or fed to someone else, so must you as the person who saw it and didn't say anything. Oh, I know who I am, and I would have never let that happen to me. That's a lie. That is a lie. But here's where we are. Here's where we are. We have to spiritually, and this is why, let's bring it back to religion or walks of faith. It's okay to believe in a walk of faith, but at the same time, we must be spiritually connected with ourselves and know who we are on the inside. Because if not, then these are the things that's going to happen. If we're not connected with our spiritual selves and who we are susceptible to attacks from other people, spiritual attacks from other people. So we gotta get spiritually connected so we'll know when somebody is not who they say they are, who is trying to run a game on us. So I want you all to take part 1 and part 2 of being spiritually manipulated, and I want y'all to really think about how, you know, you interact with other people when you seeing some stuff and not saying it. I want y'all to apply it to yourselves, because who are we to say be who you are when when y'all when the people who are not saying anything are not being who they are, who they truly are. I am your spiritual life coach, Matthew B., and I have brought 2 parts of a topic of being spiritually manipulated. And ask yourself, after listening to it, both of these, part 1 and part 2, ask yourself, have we been spiritually manipulated? And if we have, we need to change some stuff around. We need to fix some stuff. And ask yourself, what was not inside you that you needed to have? What was not there that caused the disconnection? What was the absence of something that caused the disconnection of your humanness and your spiritual existence? I am not going to hold y'all anymore. We have talked for almost 2 hours. Well, I have talked for almost 2 hours. So at this point, I'm pretty sure y'all sick of hearing me talk. But I'm going to let you all go. It has been this topic right here. I really think it's going to shake the grounds of a lot of people and their spiritual journeys. It's really going to bring forth a lot of knowledge and jewels and an insight on your spiritual journeys and healing and maintaining. And I am honored to present this information to y'all. I am honored to present this knowledge to y'all. And I'm glad that each and every one of you are continuing to take the journey to make you great. So by that being said, we're going to get out of here, and y'all have a great night. Take care.